Okay, so this is pretty cool. I mean, I've been getting into you got to be careful with the weeds. Right now my coin setup is pretty limited. I'm just keeping it real tight to the core for right now. Super simple devs. This is the guy I was doing the Rochambeau or the rock paper scissors, and this will actually bridge into a full on like scaled Amazon page. I like the YouTube page one from a while back. I didn't quite finish it, and I really didn't get into it. I was working the chessboard and Ninja Frog and the Kiss of Death, or the SCP wiki, or HTLM page, which they're gone now. I had to power wash them, and I never saved them, so I'll have to redo them again. That chessboard was a really really easy chessboard that I was doing. It was the HTLM CSS script one from way back in the day. So I'll probably knock that one off again if I don't find one of the versions that's right up my kind of technical skill level right now. Um, there you go. As far as this guy right here, he said it the best, and this is a pretty long one, so kept getting locked up with errors and stuff like that when my spelling was still good, so I wasn't sure. Maybe it's a different format gear. And in a way, hacking that way, you're just data mining, right? If it doesn't work from this strategy, then that goes back to the dev teams and do things. I'm not getting paid to do it. I'm getting relative marshmallows. So I have to take stuff like Visual Studios and then equate it to over. You'll hear it. The whole premise of, well, I'll see if I can find one of him real quick, because he's definitely one of those ones. Maybe that guy. These hackers and stuff you gotta be careful with. Well, they're fast. They're fast, and it's a flourish to a certain degree. Oh, of course, they're not gonna let me have them up on here now. But at any rate, it was like a 9-hour course and stuff like that on visual environments for Python, and there are some things about it that are interesting. From my terminal, without ever touching my file button or my Visual Studios or anything else that do it. I was only in my terminal. Did I manage to put a file in my Linux environment? Not necessarily my downloads. Now I can click that in here and I can make a file whenever I want. It is a skill. And to talk to the terminal to make that loop, it is a thing. Let's say you had no other way to get there, and that's welding in the field, and you got to know how to do it. Typing is going to be on there. What is it? Penetration testing. Because your fingers were wrong, you're going to improve that screen. The screen is penetrating you. In that case, it's a inverse square thing. The more force you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. But it might just Compton scatter off the screen if you're not real careful about how you're producing the rhythm for it realistically, and that's not going to be nice to you about it. And see what that Visual Studio can do for you when you fail that way. So hopefully, as a psychological thesis to back this up, here we're not moving anything along. I'm not getting in there showing you fancy buttons, moving around, having computers help me do this. This is all finger, completely analog. If this thing moves, it's because I moved it. Or if one of these moved, it's because it programmed it to. And I'm very limited as far as right now as to what that does. So you'll see it again, that there's a really big difference when we're visually going through these. Like, there will be a daemon core pin, not necessarily on the ordinal or cardinal number here of what the Visual Studio is. Here you're painting and you're arting. You'll get a bunch of different fields of hacking fields that are the same, that do all that mathy bit with what the A1 is, and print equals can be. Where you lay that into certain equations, especially with something like Python. Most people are going to lose it at the terminal. What we're talking about right now is a program. I am showing you some of the steps that are necessary from whatever orientation of that you're in. Is it astrophysics? Are they having a problem with it? Is it the chemistry or in mathematics in this case? Or, are because they are. Now, there's a difference, again, between this ball's gravity And as a visual studio, being able to show orbitals or rotations, Cooper pairing, that this statement and this statement are false and true to each other, that if this is here and knowing some of the other parts, that'll do there. You know how to use Visual Studios, and I've seen you make a chessboard before, or an idle game, whatever skill level you feel is appropriate, because then you're an A student at that. If you take a master and you drop them down to that stuff and they crush it, well, that's not very challenging for them. So beyond the fact they were forced to do it and they get a technical A for completing the work in a timely manner, no, that's still a semi-imperial mass equation. Again, those Visual Studio types, and again, be careful. If you can click to the back end of it, because this is all Visual Studios. If I showed you something and that gave you a better G's or D's and you started to do it, well, then that's kind of like the nature of an AI issue. The problem is your AI. If that's a new statement to you, you're an artificial intelligence. If you tie a rock to a string and you let it come down, it's a clock or potentially an energy generator. But not forever, right? It's an artificial way to make that light bulb or gear turn in such a way, slowly, counterweight, that it serves something that I would physically have to put work in to do. And so what I did is I put it in a smaller spot. And what are often kind of the variables in here? Now you're thinking, now you're visualizing them. To be honest with you, to throw this down, you'd probably be faster to draw it, I bet, than what it would be to physically, with that type of skill gap. And no offense if that statement bothers you, you probably got me beat. That, you could do that. Well, what didn't we do? We are looking in this universe where we're not putting two people together playing the chess game for at least a couple of games, back and forth, white and black, black and white, just to remove that variable from the game. Well, if white always gets the first move, well, then you get an advantage. So you have to change out the visual to fix the equation in order to do that. So in a way, we need, if you are into the ethical bug hacking of it, what am I doing? I'm not really tearing them down. I need that environment for me to do what I need to do correctly by having these statements. So you need a drug addict, you need a carpenter without skills, you need whatever, but you're trying to set up that environment so that it's beneficial, at least for you on the other end, 66.6, where because they didn't necessarily bring in some of those topics, they left it all on the board by trying to force what is essentially, something that catalyzes this but takes them away from the actual driven task of getting that pawn from e2 to e4 at the manor. And I just really wanted to bring that up here. It is a critical skill, and it's something you need to be aware of.